Would you put all your savings in that idea?
If I had to make the decision right now,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do it.
You?
So for the average investor, I think 10% is the right allocation. That might seem small to a lot of people out there at this conference, but you have to remember, you have people with millions and millions of dollars that are diversified. There's a lot of elderly, middle-aged people who are not going to feel comfortable investing with the swings that Bitcoin does. I mean, even the one that dropped, 60 to 30 is a 50% drawdown. You can't have a huge amount of your portfolio. Now, if you're young, all right, you got 40 years till retirement. I think that's different. But again, anyone at my age, 40 years or above, probably 10% allocation right now is correct.
Okay, before we move on to Florian, I got to ask then, what's the other 90%?
Right now, I'm bearish on stocks.
I do know that, but they don't know that. Tell me.
All right, so there are certain areas, like I like China stocks right now because they've been beaten down like crazy under these regulatory issues. But I think gold is a place you want to be, even though Bitcoin always seems to be like anti-gold. I think there's a spot for both of those.
I'm just going to pause right there. Don't you think Bitcoin replaces gold? I know it's a leading question. You're welcome to say no.
I think a huge chunk replaces gold, yes, but there absolutely is a place in the next 20 years or so for gold to still go up hundreds of percentage points, which for me as an allocating investor, I do want to have exposure in gold and metals.
Well, if gold goes up hundreds of percentage points, how much does Bitcoin go up?
Once it gets down to 20, it's going to 500, so that's a lot.
All right, fair enough. Florian, let's talk about your asset allocation. How much would you hold in Bitcoin?
Whoa, I mean, it's a personal question, right?
Yeah, I'm asking you personally.
Personally, well, it's way above 50%. So,
Okay.
But I'm into the space for many years. I know what I do, at least, about where I invest. Obviously, I have no clue about the future neither. But
So let me ask you this. What kind of investor would fit your profile? If I had to ask you, what kind of person would also buy 50%?
it would be an original hodler. So, that's the kind of type, But because you don't sell your Bitcoins, at least not the large part of it. But I think the most important thing for those people who are not invested at all, please take $50 and buy Bitcoin. Just get your hands on it. Don't make it too complicated. Don't question how much should I put everything in it or not? Should I buy now or tomorrow? Just do it. Put $50 into it to get your hands on it. If you have an allocation between 1% and 10%, I think you're doing fine, because this is your hedge against inflation. Right. This is your wealth preservation kind of way forward. Together with gold, I'm a big fan of gold, but right now I would under-allocate gold and definitely overweight Bitcoin. This will change next year, I guess, but right now I'm all in crypto, actually.
If I may jump in, just one of the reasons why I'm also a little concerned about overdoing it in Bitcoin itself is that we aren't necessarily 100% sure yet which cryptocurrency is ultimately going to be the ones that end up being those top cryptocurrencies 10 years from now. So while Bitcoin looks like the dominant force, does Ether overtake it? Does Solana? There's so many, and it's always rotating because it's such a new asset class that, again, if you're going to do it, maybe even diversify within cryptocurrency a little bit.
Well, let's talk about that. That's an excellent point. Can Bitcoin be dethroned? I've heard both sides of the argument from Bitcoin maximalists. They have said, well, look, there's been tens of thousands of coins that have been launched since the inception of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is still the dominant coin in terms of market cap. So that obviously hasn't done anything to dethrone Bitcoin as the largest coin. Then there's the other group who says that, well, yes, Bitcoin is already lagging in terms of its technological efficiency. There are many coins that can supplant Bitcoin in terms of its transaction speed, transaction costs, its peer-to-peer system. Bitcoin just doesn't really do anything when you compare it to other utility coins. So it will be replaced. In fact, I've heard the argument that Ethereum will become the next Bitcoin. In fact, the Ethereum flippening is already happening. So let's talk about it. Which camp are you in?
I'm in the camp that most likely Bitcoin is the dominant force, but there's still that 25% chance that it isn't. And I think you have to, as an investor, if you're someone who's going to allocate, someone, let's say 20 million portfolio with a 10%, you need to be aware of that. So I'm in the camp that there's always a chance. I'll just say this, folks, is since I've invested since the late 90s, I have had plenty of stocks, and they were stocks back then, go bust or have massive down moves. And I've learned that nothing is infallible. Nothing is is invincible. So I have to, from now on, I'm always that conservative trader that's thinking about the negative possibility to protect me.
Florian, what do you think?
Yeah, for me, Bitcoin is the base layer, the trust layer, and I don't see any big change within the dominance. But what I love about the space, and that is thanks to Bitcoin, the free competition. I mean, that's what we all need and what we all want, a free market, free competition, lots of good ideas, lots of projects, 1,000 coins. I agree with you, most of them will at some point go to zero or diminish. But who am I to know which one will be the big coin in 10 years? Right now it's Bitcoin. I think over the next few years it will remain like this. It is the most decentralized coin, which is the most important thing about it all, decentralization. So I'm very optimistic, and Bitcoin definitely will survive the next crypto winter, while most of those other coins, who knows?
Well, that leads to the ultimate philosophical question is why buy Bitcoin in the first place? What's the point of buying Bitcoin? Because if you're buying Bitcoin as a form of a stable coin, well, why not just buy a stable coin? Why not just buy USDC? If you're buying Bitcoin as a base layer for a DeFi protocol, why not buy Ethereum or Solana? I mean, if you're buying Bitcoin as a store of value, why not buy gold? So what is the point of buying Bitcoin? The purpose?
I mean, for me, it's the same reason I want to buy gold, is I don't have very much trust in the Federal Reserve and our government in terms of the debt. The future looks bleak in terms of the dollar, and I want to be hedged against that. You know, I want to go to sleep at night knowing that if I wake up the next morning and there's been a dollar collapse, that I'm okay.
Florian?
Yeah, it's decentralized freedom. I mean, nobody can stop Bitcoin. It's been the best performing asset over the last 10 years. Still, the vast majority of people is not involved and not invested. Digital scarcity is a concept that more and more people will understand in the future. It is the base layer. I think you don't want to miss out on that. You need to have it, and it's a form of gold. Although I don't really like the comparison. I think it's two different things. But I definitely, I mean, I love Bitcoin. I'm very grateful that it exists, and I think it's actually the only way for us, mankind, to into a better future, because we see it everywhere, like governments controlling us, totalitarian everywhere. Bitcoin is freedom. That's the answer.
If you consider Bitcoin as the ultimate store of value, like some proponents would consider, Michael Saylor, for example, CEO of MicroStrategy, has been a proponent of the notion that Bitcoin is a store of value. Here's a proposition. Why don't I just put all my savings in Bitcoin, sleep on it, literally don't even look at it for 20 years, and just make that my savings account?
I'll let you start with that one, buddy.
You can do it if you know how to weather the volatility. If you only use the money that you can actually lose and don't need it tomorrow, why not? I mean, this is a personal decision. I said it before. It really, I mean, trading and investing is counterintuitive. It's about psychology. It's about yourself. You need to know yourself. If you can weather that kind of volatility, do it.
Let me ask you a different way, Florian. Would you trust Bitcoin enough to not touch it for 20 years? You close your eyes for 20 years, leave it alone in your savings account. It's going to go up. Would you put all your savings in that idea?
If I had to make the decision right now, yeah, I would do it.
You?
No. No, but again, if there's one thing I know, it's that I know nothing, right? I mean, that's the bottom line, is that I do not know what the future holds. I don't know what the government's going to do. I don't know. So when you say putting all your assets into Bitcoin, I mean, yeah, if I don't want to sleep for the next 20, 30 years, sure, but aside from that,
but think about it. Everybody here puts their savings in cash. Everybody here has a bank account, I presume.
Yeah.
And that cash, this leads to our next topic of conversation. That cash is there's a 100% chance that if you hold a US dollars in cash, you will lose value in the next year. There's a 100% chance you will. But there is not a 100% chance you will lose value in Bitcoin. Think about it.
But so this is right. So yes, 8% inflation next year. That's what they're projecting. So you're going to lose 8%. But what if Bitcoin falls to 20,000? How much did you lose there? So what about, again, going back to diversification, I don't mean to be a broken record, but a little bit in gold, a little bit in crypto, a little bit in stocks, a little bit here and there, and hopefully you can at least come out break even. I think that's the goal.